The golden light of an Arizona sunset cast its glow over the upscale neighborhood in the Phoenix suburbs. Olivia Campbell leaned against the marble countertop in her spacious kitchen, gently stroking her pregnant belly. On her finger sparkled the luxurious diamond ring Marcus had given her when he proposed 2 years ago. Olivia had built a successful career as a well-respected local real estate agent, earning the trust of many clients with her sincere smile and honesty. "Is the baby kicking again?" Marcus called from behind her. His voice was gentle, but lacked the warmth it once had. Marcus was the founder of a technology startup, and had captivated Olivia with his confident demeanor and sharp intellect. They had met when Olivia showed him properties for his company's new office. What began as a business relationship had blossomed into a passionate romance within months. "Yes, very active today," Olivia smiled, but noticed that Marcus's eyes were avoiding hers. The change in his attitude had become increasingly noticeable as her pregnancy progressed. At first, they were small things. Suddenly cancelled dinner plans, late nights coming home, and most telling of all, the coldness in his gaze. "I'll be late tonight." "I have a meeting," Marcus said, leaving without even kissing her. "Goodbye." The sound of the door closing left an empty echo in Olivia's heart. In truth, Marcus wasn't heading to a meeting. His company had been in serious financial trouble for the past 6 months. The failure of a new product had left him with enormous debt, but he couldn't bring himself to tell Olivia. The image of a successful entrepreneur was central to his identity. Accepting the reality of bankruptcy was unthinkable to him. That night, Marcus met Jessica, a young and attractive woman, at a hotel bar downtown. She was a new employee at his company, but their relationship had gradually evolved beyond work. "Well? Did you tell her?" Jessica asked in a hushed voice. Her fingers touched Marcus's hand, ignoring the cold feel of his wedding ring. "Not yet. I need time," Marcus answered vaguely. But in his mind, a terrifying plan was already taking shape. He had secretly taken out a $5 million life insurance policy in Olivia's name. It would solve all his financial problems in one stroke. The next day, Olivia was having lunch with her best friend Lisa. They had been friends since college, and Lisa was one of the few people who was genuinely happy about Olivia's pregnancy. "I'm going to be honest with you, Olivia. I'm worried about Marcus." Lisa chose her words carefully. "I heard that he's been seen with a young woman from your company." Olivia caught her breath for a moment. Her intuition had been telling her something was wrong, but she had been afraid to acknowledge it. "Who told you?" "James saw them at a downtown bar. He said the woman's name was Jessica." The name caught in Olivia's memory. Jessica Morris, the promising new hire Marcus often spoke about. That night, Olivia quietly opened Marcus's laptop and checked his emails. She had never allowed herself to do this before, but now she needed to know the truth for the baby's sake. With trembling fingers, she found messages from Jessica, full of intimate words and promises. When Marcus came home, Olivia confronted him tearfully about the truth. "What are you talking about?" Marcus raised his voice. "It's your pregnancy hormones making you paranoid. Jessica is just an employee." "I saw your emails," Olivia said quietly. Marcus's face froze for a moment. The next instant, he reverted to the perfect liar's expression, approaching Olivia and taking her hands. "I'm sorry, Olivia. Yes, I did get close to her because of work stress, but nothing happened. You and the baby are everything to me." His voice was warm and convincing. "Actually, I've been planning a surprise for you. A little getaway for just the two of us as a baby moon. There's a beautiful resort in the Sonoran Desert." Olivia sighed with relief. She wanted to believe that Marcus truly loved her and was looking forward to their baby. "That sounds lovely," she smiled. That night, they spent an intimate time together for the first time in a while. Marcus behaved like the caring husband again, and Olivia's worries subsided a little. She saw the weekend trip as a chance to repair their relationship and looked forward to it. When the weekend arrived, Olivia prepared for their trip, repeatedly telling herself that this was a new beginning. She chose a light blue maternity dress, smiling with satisfaction at how the fabric gently enveloped her growing belly. Standing in front of the mirror, pulling her long blonde hair into a ponytail, she smiled at herself. "Ready?" Marcus peeked in from the bedroom doorway. His voice had an unusual brightness that lightened Olivia's heart a little. "Yes, almost," she answered. "I'm really looking forward to it." Marcus nodded and began loading luggage into his luxury SUV. He had carefully planned everything. Hidden in his laptop bag were Olivia's life insurance policy and his passport. After the accident in the desert, he planned to leave the country immediately with Jessica. They left at 9 a.m. The Arizona sky was crystal clear, with a blueness that seemed to stretch endlessly to the horizon. Soft music played in the car, and Olivia relaxed, enjoying the scenery outside the window. "Which resort are we going to?" she asked. "It's a surprise," Marcus smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. "But I want to stop at a special place on the way. I want to show you the true beauty of the Sonoran Desert." After a 2-hour drive, Marcus left the main road and turned onto a narrow, unpaved path. Road signs gradually became fewer, and the surrounding landscape grew increasingly desolate. "Are you sure this is the right way?" Olivia began to feel uneasy. Her intuition was sending warnings. "Trust me," Marcus answered. "There's an amazing view ahead. It's a place not many tourists know about." After driving another 30 minutes, Marcus stopped the car. Around them was nothing but endless sand and rocks. The sun beat down mercilessly from directly overhead, with heat rising from the ground. "Let's get out," Marcus said, opening Olivia's door. Olivia hesitantly stepped out of the car. The sand creaked beneath her feet, and heat waves struck her face. "What are we doing here?" She couldn't hide her concern. "Let's walk a bit." Marcus took her hand and led her toward a small rocky hill. "The view from that peak is incredibly beautiful." Walking was not easy for Olivia at 8 months pregnant, but she tried to respond to Marcus's enthusiasm. However, after a few minutes, she was out of breath and had to stop. "Marcus, let me rest a bit." She sat down on a flat rock. "The baby is heavy." "Of course," Marcus said gently. "I'll get some water." He started walking back to the car. Olivia wiped the sweat from her forehead and gazed at the distant horizon. There was no sign of life around her, just endless sand, rocks, and sky. She took out her cell phone, but her heart sank when she saw the no service display. Back at the car, Marcus hesitated for a moment. There was a conflict in his heart, but it disappeared in an instant. He opened the door and slid into the driver's seat. As he started the engine, Olivia turned around with a confused expression. "Marcus," she called out. "What are you doing?" Marcus lowered the window. A cruel smile appeared on his face. "Enjoy the resort experience," he shouted. "You'll have plenty of time to think. If you live, that is." Olivia stood up with a look of disbelief. "You're joking, right?" "Marcus." She desperately started walking toward the car. But Marcus had already pressed the accelerator. The car drove away in a cloud of dust, leaving Olivia's screams behind. "Marcus. Come back," she continued to scream, but the car had already become a small dot, disappearing beyond the horizon. A sudden silence enveloped her. Olivia collapsed to her knees, sitting on the hot sand. It took several minutes to understand this reality. She was 8 months pregnant, stranded in the middle of the desert without water or food. Panic seized her. "Calm down," she told herself. "I must stay calm for the baby." She checked her phone again, but it was still out of service. Olivia slowly stood up and looked around. Calling for help only made her voice disappear into the vast desert. As the sun beat down mercilessly, Olivia tried to analyze her situation calmly. Walking from where Marcus had left her to the main road was impossible. In her pregnant condition, such a long walk would only endanger both her and the baby. Olivia moved to the shade of a large rock, trying to secure whatever shelter she could. Someone will find me, she told herself. But deep down, she realized that Marcus had deliberately chosen a place where people rarely came. As time passed, her thirst became unbearable. Temperatures in the Arizona desert easily exceed 100 degrees during the day. Olivia huddled in her own shadow, trying not to move unless necessary. Her hands naturally rested on her belly, stroking it protectively. "It's okay, baby," she whispered. "Mommy will protect you." As the sun gradually began to tilt westward, Olivia faced a terrifying truth. Marcus was trying to kill her. She couldn't fully understand why he would do such a thing, but it was clear this was no accident. As the sun set and the cold desert night arrived, Olivia shivered, hugging her arms around herself. Though beginning to lose hope, she was determined to stay strong for her baby. Believing that help would come, she prepared for a lonely night under the stars. When dawn began to color the horizon of the Sonoran Desert, Olivia was leaning her trembling body against a rock. She hadn't been able to sleep all night. Hunger and thirst tormented her, and tears came to her eyes whenever the baby moved inside her. "Just a little longer," she spoke to her belly. "We're going to be okay." But contrary to her words, Olivia's body was reaching its limit. Dehydration was progressing, her lips were dry and starting to crack. Her head was throbbing, and occasionally her vision blurred with dizziness. Having heard about the dangers of dehydration during pregnancy from medical friends, Olivia understood that her condition and the baby's were deteriorating rapidly. As the morning sun rose, the temperature also increased, and the merciless heat began to assault her again. Olivia managed to stand up and move to a shaded area to secure whatever shade she could. "Someone, please." She squeezed out a voice from her dry throat. Several miles away, Park Ranger Ellen Morris had begun her normal patrol. At 58, Ellen had worked in this desert for 25 years and knew its terrain like the palm of her hand. Today, she decided to investigate slightly off her usual route, as visitors had reported an unidentified vehicle the previous day. "Headquarters, this is Morris." Investigating Sector 7, Ellen reported into her radio. Her four-wheel drive was slowly proceeding along the unpaved road. Olivia was beginning to lose consciousness. The sun's heat and lack of water had made her thoughts fragmentary. She tried to remember an article she had once read about desert survival, but her mind was foggy. Just then, she heard the distant sound of an engine. Afraid it might be a hallucination, Olivia summoned her last strength to stand up. "Help," she cried, but her voice was hoarse. She waved her arms, trying to attract attention. Ellen spotted something moving through the windshield. At first, she thought it might be a desert animal, but quickly realized it was a human figure. What in the world? She brought the car to a sudden stop and grabbed her binoculars. There was clearly a woman standing there, and she appeared to be pregnant. "Headquarters, emergency." Ellen gripped the radio. "Found a stranded person in Sector 7. Appears to be a pregnant woman. Medical assistance needed. Sending GPS coordinates." Ellen hurriedly got out of her car and ran toward Olivia. "Are you okay?" she shouted as she approached. Olivia nearly collapsed with relief. "Water, please," she said in a trembling voice. Ellen quickly moved Olivia to the shade and took out water and isotonic drinks from her first aid kit. "Drink slowly," she said while quickly checking Olivia's condition. "Paramedics are on the way." "What happened to you out here?" After drinking some water, Olivia began speaking in a shaky voice. My husband left me here." Ellen's expression changed. "Intentionally?" Olivia nodded, tears flowing. "He drove away saying, 'Enjoy the resort experience.'" Ellen held Olivia's hand, suppressing her anger. "You're safe now." 15 minutes later, a medical helicopter arrived. The medical team immediately placed Olivia on a stretcher and started in 4. "She's suffering from severe dehydration," one of the paramedics said. "We need to get her to a hospital right away." Ellen collected Olivia's personal information and contacted the police. "This is an intentional abandonment case," she told the officer. "The victim's name is Olivia Campbell. The perpetrator is her husband, Marcus Campbell." As the helicopter took off toward a Phoenix hospital, Ellen remained at the scene gathering evidence. She photographed footprints and tire marks, and recorded the exact coordinates where Olivia had survived. At Phoenix Memorial Hospital, the medical team worked to stabilize Olivia and the fetus. "Mrs. Campbell, you and your baby are going to be fine," Dr. Sarah Chan, the attending physician, told her. "You had dehydration and mild heat exhaustion, but early treatment prevented it from becoming serious." Olivia wept with relief in the hospital bed. "Is the baby really okay?" "Yes, the fetal heartbeat is normal. We'll keep monitors on and observe for the next 24 hours, but there are no problems so far." Dr. Chen gently placed her hand on Olivia's shoulder. "The police want to talk to you. Let me know when you're ready." That afternoon, 2 local police officers visited Olivia's hospital room. She tearfully explained the details of what happened in the desert. While listening to Olivia's story, female officer Rose Garcia struggled to contain her anger. "Mrs. Campbell, do you know where your husband might be?" "Normally, he would be at home or at his office," Olivia answered. "But..." She hesitated. "Recently, I had suspicions about a young woman. Her name is Jessica Morris, an employee at his company." The officers recorded the detailed information and immediately began searching for Marcus. That evening, local Phoenix television station KPX News led their regular broadcast with the desert rescue story. "Today, a shocking rescue took place in the Sonoran Desert," anchor Susan Reed reported with a serious expression. A woman, 8 months pregnant, was abandoned by her husband in the desert and survived for over 16 hours in extreme conditions. The screen showed desert landscape and footage of the medical helicopter, followed by Olivia's photograph. Police report that the victim, Olivia Campbell, was intentionally abandoned in a remote desert location by her husband, Marcus Campbell, Reed continued. "Mr. Campbell is currently wanted for attempted murder." A large photograph of Marcus with his name appeared on the screen. "If you see Marcus Campbell, please contact the police immediately. The suspect is considered dangerous." At that moment, in Jessica's apartment, Marcus was frozen in front of the television. His face had turned pale, with cold sweat on his forehead. "Impossible," he muttered. "She couldn't have survived all night in that place." Jessica's eyes widened in horror. "Marcus, did you really leave your wife in the desert?" Marcus didn't answer, and hurriedly began packing his belongings. "We need to leave right away," he said. "Take your passport and cash, we're heading to Mexico tonight." But as they headed for the door, there was a knock. Phoenix Police Department. "Marcus Campbell, are you in there?" Marcus jumped back and tried to flee toward the back of the room. But at that moment, police officers also entered through the apartment's back door. "Marcus Campbell, you're under arrest for attempted murder and abandonment," the officer said, handcuffing Marcus. Marcus didn't resist, just stood there in shock. His meticulous plan had completely fallen apart, and with Olivia's miraculous survival and rescue, his life was about to come to an end. The television news continued. Olivia Campbell and her unborn child are reported to be in stable condition. Her courage and endurance, along with the timely rescue, prevented this tragic outcome. In her hospital room, Olivia stared at the television. There was anger and sadness in her heart, but also a strong sense of relief at having survived. She placed her hand on her belly and gently stroked it. "We're going to be okay," she smiled slightly. "We're going to start a new life together." The heavy doors of the Phoenix County Courthouse opened, and Olivia entered with her lawyer, Samantha Clark. The gallery was filled with reporters and citizens interested in this shocking case. Olivia had left her newborn daughter Emma with her parents to attend this day. Her expression showed determination. "Ready?" Samantha asked in a low voice. She was a sharp-minded lawyer who specialized in domestic violence cases. "Yes," Olivia nodded. "I'll make Marcus tell the truth." The sound of the gavel announced the judge's entrance, and the courtroom fell silent. The trial of Marcus Campbell on charges of attempted murder, aggravated assault, and abandonment is now in session, the clerk declared. Marcus entered in detention center attire, wearing an orange jumpsuit. Gone was his once confident demeanor, he had slumped shoulders and downcast eyes. His lawyer, James Dawson, was known for charging the highest legal fees in Arizona. "The defendant pleads not guilty," Dawson declared to the judge. "This case is based on an unfortunate misunderstanding." In the prosecution's opening statement, Prosecutor Elizabeth Wan outlined the case. The defendant, Marcus Campbell, deliberately abandoned his pregnant wife in the desert, intending to cause her death. This act was cold-blooded, calculated attempted murder. Attorney Dawson countered, "My client was simply enjoying a desert drive with Mrs. Campbell. She walked away on her own, and the defendant returned to look for her but couldn't find her." Taking the witness stand, Olivia placed a trembling hand on the Bible and took the oath. She spoke calmly, yet emotionally, about everything: the changes in their marriage, Marcus's sudden change in attitude, and the terrifying desert incident. "He made me get out of the car and drove away saying, 'Enjoy the resort experience,'" Olivia told the court. There was a smile on his face. During cross-examination, Dawson tried to question her memory. "Mrs. Campbell, wouldn't high desert temperatures and dehydration cause hallucinations or confused memories?" "My memory is perfectly clear," Olivia answered firmly. "I will never forget that my husband tried to kill me." Park Ranger Ellen Morris also provided crucial testimony. "When I found the victim, she was in a life-threatening condition. It's inconceivable that a pregnant woman would go to such a location voluntarily." The turning point in the trial came when the prosecution presented new evidence: a life insurance policy found on Marcus's company computer and detailed notes of his plan. "Your Honor," Prosecutor Wan said, "the defendant took out a $5 million life insurance policy in his wife's name. Without her knowledge." She presented documents with Olivia's forged signature. Attorney Dawson strongly objected, but the judge admitted this evidence. Even more shocking was Marcus's GPS data. The navigation system in his car and his smartphone GPS log completely contradicted his testimony. According to the data, after abandoning Olivia, instead of searching for her, he went straight to Jessica's apartment. The defendant made no attempt to find Mrs. Campbell, investigator Thomas Brown testified. The GPS data shows he went directly to Jessica Morris's apartment and spent the night there. As the trial progressed, details of Marcus's financial situation also came to light. His company had millions of dollars in debt and was on the verge of bankruptcy. Furthermore, his affair with Jessica was exposed. She testified, in exchange for immunity, that Marcus had repeatedly said, "All problems would be solved if my wife died." By the fourth day of the trial, Marcus's expression had completely changed. The blood had drained from his face, and his eyes were sunken. "Will the defendant take the stand?" the judge asked. After a long silence, Marcus stood up. "Yes," he answered in a small voice. Standing on the witness stand, Marcus couldn't meet Olivia's eyes. "Mr. Campbell," Prosecutor Wan asked, "did you really try to help your wife?" After a silence, Marcus let out a deep sigh. "No," his voice trembled. "I abandoned her." A shock ran through the courtroom. Attorney Dawson hurriedly stood up, but Marcus stopped him. "Enough," Marcus said. "I'll tell everything." He bowed his head and confessed everything: his company's collapse, the insurance fraud plan, and his affair with Jessica. "I chose to become a murderer rather than go bankrupt," he said, barely getting the words out. "That was my choice." Olivia quietly wept. What welled up inside her wasn't anger, but sadness. She never imagined the man she once loved could fall so far. After closing arguments, the jury returned a unanimous guilty verdict after 2 hours of deliberation. The judge imposed the maximum sentence on Marcus Campbell, for attempted murder, aggravated assault, insurance fraud, and other charges. You are sentenced to 20 years in prison, the judge pronounced with a stern expression. You tried to bring death to your pregnant wife and unborn child. This is an act society cannot tolerate. After the sentencing, Olivia stood in front of Marcus as he was being led out of the courtroom. Why, she asked. Didn't you think about our child? Marcus looked directly into her eyes for the first time. I could only think of myself, he said. I won't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. Olivia nodded quietly. I won't forgive you either. But from now on, I'll live for myself and my daughter. She turned away and left the courtroom with dignified steps. Outside the courthouse, a sense of liberation enveloped her. The long nightmare was finally over. Her mother stood there holding Emma. Olivia took her daughter in her arms and kissed her small cheek. Let's go, Emma, she smiled. Our new life is waiting. One Sunday, a year later, Olivia stood in the garden of her new home in Santa Fe, 200 miles from Phoenix, holding her daughter Emma. Emma had grown healthy, inheriting her mother's blue eyes and golden hair. Having just celebrated her first birthday, she was balancing in her mother's arms, her laughter ringing out. Look, Emma. This is your garden, Olivia smiled. You can play here to your heart's content. Moving to Santa Fe meant a new beginning for Olivia. After the trial, she was determined to leave behind the bitter memories of Arizona and start her life anew in a different place. Her friend Lisa had spoken of Santa Fe's charm before, and attracted to this town of art and culture, Olivia chose it without hesitation. Drawing on her real estate experience, Olivia had opened a small real estate company in Santa Fe. Her clients were mainly people who, like her, wished to start a new chapter in life. New home, new beginning, was her company's motto. Inside the house, the manuscript of her book Return from the Desert, A Story of Survival and Rebirth, lay on the desk. The book chronicled her experiences, and several publishers had already expressed interest. She hoped her story would give strength to women in similar situations. Part of the book's royalties were to be donated to a fund she established called Desert Survivors. This fund supported victims of domestic violence, with particular emphasis on pregnant women and mothers with children. Olivia, you have a visitor, Lisa called from inside the house. Lisa had followed Olivia to Santa Fe and now worked at her company while becoming like a surrogate mother to Emma. Standing at the doorway was park ranger Ellen Morris, who had rescued Olivia. Ellen had kept in touch with Olivia after the trial, and the two had formed a deep friendship. Ellen. Olivia greeted her with a bright smile. You came all this way? You invited me to celebrate my retirement, Ellen laughed, waving to Emma. Besides, I couldn't not visit this little miracle. The three sat at a table set up in the garden and opened wine brought from Arizona. The conversation naturally turned to the journey they had walked over the past year. Do you still get letters from Marcus? Ellen carefully asked. Olivia shook her head. I read the first few, but I don't write back anymore. I've accepted his apology, but there's no place for him in our lives. Meanwhile, in Arizona State Prison, Marcus sat in his cell, staring at the small patch of sky visible through the window. Deep wrinkles were etched on his face, and there was no trace of his once confident expression. Other inmates called him the pregnant woman killer and isolated him. He had been assaulted several times in the first few months and was now among the lowest ranking in the prison hierarchy. Jessica had never visited him. Rumor had it that she had received a light suspended sentence in exchange for her testimony and quickly left the state. In Marcus's possession was the last letter from Olivia. I cannot forgive you, but I won't continue to hate you either. That would be a waste of precious energy for Emma and me. Goodbye, Marcus. He folded the letter and slipped it under his pillow. Of his 20-year sentence, 19 years remained. In Santa Fe, the sun was setting behind the mountains. Olivia held Emma in her arms, enjoying a quiet sense of satisfaction in the garden bathed in warm light. Her life had taken an unexpected direction, but she was now stronger and wiser than before. "We're going to be just fine," she whispered, kissing Emma's soft hair. Surrounded by people who loved her, she felt truly safe for the first time. The desert terror was now in the past, and before her stretched a future filled with light.